time around we're going to talk about character design for graphic novels. Now, everybody understands how important it is to have an interesting main character to build your story around. Somebody whose motivations you understand and whose actions in the story make sense to you and who you can relate to. But for graphic novels, there's an extra component to this, and that's the visual component, the design of the character, so that the way that the character looks reflects their personality. The way the character dresses, the way they wear their hair, how tall they are, how short they are, and the expressions that come across their face, the features of their face, how they use their body, even their body language, all tell you a lot about their personality across the course of a story. And also beyond those things, you want to make sure that the character is designed to be distinctive enough so that you don't confuse it with other characters in the story. And you have to keep in mind that for a graphic novel, you have to be able to show these characters from the front and the back and the sides, and sometimes from a bird's eye view from the top. You may see them from a great distance, or you may see them really close up. And in each of those instances, you want their design to be distinctive enough so that the reader always recognizes who they are. I want to take you through the process that I went through to create the characters for my iPad storybook app, StopMath. Now, StopMath is about a little boy who wants to go back in time and prevent math from being invented so that he doesn't have to do his homework anymore. So this boy, Sparks, takes with him on his trip a robot dog named Widget. So I'm designing these two characters. Now, the things I want to keep in mind as I'm designing them is that the boy, obviously, he's a pretty intrepid little kid if he's willing to go back in time to go on this adventure to stop math from being invented. And the time travel apparatus is this equipment that his parents cobbled together in their workshop. They're inventors, they all live in the future. And so I had to invent not only the look of the kid, but also the equipment that he was going to wear to travel through time. Seen here are a few of the variations that I came up with to try and design the look of his time travel equipment. I decided I wanted it to be a sort of helmet because I wanted, when he put it on, I wanted him to feel sort of like he was on an adventure. So I modeled it after like a fighter pilot's helmet. And you see I've got a few different variations there with a few different sorts of features. The one that I settled on was the one in the bottom left corner, the one that has a pair of goggles sort of strapped onto it, and it's got a couple of antennae on the top with a little electricity shooting through them, and this sort of hose coming off the side. All of those things are meant to make it look like it's something that a kid would wear to sort of feel like he was a fighter pilot, but at the same time, it should look sort of slapped together and homemade, because in fact it was. His parents built it in their workshop at home. The design of this is meant to serve two different purposes. One is to make the kid feel like he's sort of special and being adventurous when he wears it, and the other is for the reader to recognize that it looks a little bit goofy too. There's comic elements to this story, and there's comic elements to the visuals of what he's wearing too. It looks like something that was sort of slapped together fairly haphazardly. Now, the other character that's designed here is his robot dog, Widget. Now, Widget is going to come along with him on this adventure, and Widget is sort of the comic relief in this story. I want him to look a little bit goofy, but I also want him to be large enough and impressive enough that the boy could bring him along with the expectation that Widget would help be not only his companion, but his protection along this trip. You'll notice I'm trying out a few different dog breeds as templates for this robot dog. That large one that you see dominating the page there is sort of built on the template of like a German Shepherd or one of the bigger, thicker, sturdier dogs. And I decided that wasn't quite right for the character. I wanted him to be a little more comical than that, and this guy seemed just a little bit too heroic to serve the purpose that he was supposed to serve in the story. You'll also see one down in the bottom right corner that's based roughly on sort of a dachshund. And I decided that was a little too insubstantial. That one wasn't intimidating enough to serve as the boy's protection on his trip. And so I ended up with the one at the very top of the page there. He looks like he's a large enough dog, but he's also gangly enough that he looks a little bit ridiculous too. One of the considerations in designing a robot dog is to make sure that he's expressive enough across the course of the story. you'll see across the course of a few of these sketches along the top right of the page, I'm trying to figure out ways to show him being angry and aggressive, or sort of quizzical, or maybe just happy and content. And I found the key to doing this was to add eyebrows to the robot, even though eyebrows are something that a robot wouldn't ordinarily need, but it was very important to add those to the character design so that his face could be expressive enough to go through that range of emotions that he'd have to go to in the story. And here's finished art of these two characters that we've been discussing, Sparks and Widget. And you can see Sparks is sort of this flurry of odd cords hanging off of him and off of his helmet, so that he looks sort of heroic and comical at the same time as he's spinning through time. And you'll notice that his robot dog Widget over there has his tongue hanging out. He looks a little bit goofy too. And you'll notice what I've done with his eyebrows to give him this sort of surprised and scared look as they're swirling through time and space. So here's your exercise for this character design video. And that's to design a character for yourself. Take the story that you're planning on telling and do a variety of sketches of the character. Here's an example of how I did it for the graphic novel Dragon Girl. You can see that I'm showing that character not only just how she dresses, but also her range of emotions. I'm showing her in profile and straightforward, looking down and looking up. I'm trying to express what she's like through her body language, how she stands very confidently, how she expresses affection to her pet dragon, how she might run if she's in a panic. All of the sorts of emotions and actions that I might have to take her through in the course of her story. That's what I want you guys to try for your exercise on your own character.